So we're off to town, get a bit of an experiment with Barry, who's actually behind the camera. I've got my X100F and I've got my XT30 with me today, and the only reason I brought two cameras out is just to show you guys what we do with the different style of cameras. I don't usually carry two, so all I've got is my camera with me with a 128GB memory card in it and two spare batteries. That's all I take with me, nothing else, no bags or anything else. Just how I feel when I go out, and I just see how I feel on the day of what I'm going to wear, what I'm going to look like. But I always wear quite muted colours. I don't want to stand out from the crowd. I just want to look normal with my camera, just like anyone else on a day out in town. So we're going to go and get the train now. We're going to see what we can see on the way. We're going to see what we can see on the train station. Then we're going to make our way around town, and I'll record as much as I can to show you what I do and make you feel more at ease when you're shooting people. Made it to the station, not very far from where I live. One of the interesting things about a rangefinder camera, which is why you find a lot of street photographers like rangefinder cameras, that when you hold it to your eye and you look at your subject, it actually looks to the subject as if you're looking over there, whereas I'm actually aimed right at the person I'm shooting. So one of the interesting things about having a rangefinder camera, you'll find most people, is if you just stand in the middle of a high street or anywhere and hold your camera up to your eye and take photographs as people walk towards you, you actually get some really, really good shots. What you don't do though is when you're taking a photograph like that, you aim someone, take the photograph, is then look at them. Because you're not looking for recognition as a photographer, you're just trying to take photographs. If you watch people like Joe Merowitz and all the other famous street photographers work, they all stand in the middle of the street or wherever they have a good background usually, or some interesting people, and they photograph away. And that is one of the techniques to use. It's just stand there and be a tourist on holiday and just take loads and loads of photographs. Don't stand against walls and be sneaky in corners, because you stand out like a sore thumb. And that's the worst thing. You don't want to stand out like a sore thumb. You just want to look natural in your natural environment and hold and use your camera in a natural way. Most of the time, just walk around with it around your neck. Unless you're the type of photographer that wants to wrap it around your arm, then wrap it around your arm. It's totally up to you, as long as you feel comfortable and you can get that camera into position quickly. At the end of the day, if you're looking for a subject and your subject's coming towards you, you want the camera here. It's no good down there or in a bag or in your pocket. It actually needs to be there. So if it's round your neck, it's a very, very quick process to bring it up. And if you don't want it round your neck, get a wrist strap and keep your hand about here. That's one of the simplest ways to get a shot quickly. Because you've got to remember, especially as you get older, getting a camera up to your eye and getting the shot and framing the shot and focusing and taking the shot is a very, very quick process. So if you see something happen, usually it's happened and gone. So one of the things you want to do is keep your camera ready and close to your eye, or even be standing there with it to your eye. And as I say, rangefinder cameras are the preferred, but I've brought my other camera with me today and we'll talk about that in a minute.
I'll watch it, sorry, I won't go on your wages now. International football doesn't interest me.
So we made it into town. A little conversation about earlier about holding the camera and keeping it with you. There's people walking around me, even someone having their photograph taken behind me, and no one's interested in me. No one's interested in what I'm doing, what I'm saying, until you interfere with them and their day. If you start walking towards people and getting close to people, they'll wonder what you're doing. It's a proximity thing. The closer you get to someone, if I'm standing here, as you can see, I'm quite a long way away from you. If I get up close and like stick a camera in your face, you're going to think, what's that guy doing? And then you're going to start getting concerned about what he's doing. When you get concerned about what he's doing, you're going to interact with them. You're going to say, what are you doing? At the end of the day, you can shoot whatever you like on a street in the UK, and it's your right to photograph anything in a public space. I'll put a link to that below, what the police's view on that. But I'm not going to get too much into that, because that's never concerned me when I've been a street photographer. The most important thing is to get out, take some photographs and enjoy your day. And it's not to interfere with other people. I'm being videoed now, and some people might think, what's he being videoed for? And they may look. And that's a very interesting thing, because if you're seeing people walking behind me and I'm not, but at the end of the day, if anyone is walking into this scene and looking, then they're just looking at what Barry and I are doing. Most people, if they are walking into this scene, aren't looking at us. There's a guy just gone past on a bike, he's not looking at us. There's a lady over there, she's not looking at us. I'm actually talking about these people and they don't know. It's all about proximity and how close you get. And it's how your natural space around you all day long is how you feel comfortable. Everyone's different, right? If you walk into someone's personal space, you're going to upset them. So the idea is to stay out of their personal space, don't allow them into your personal space, and get on and enjoy your day. But just remember, if you live out in the countryside, someone that lives out in the countryside, their personal space is a lot bigger than someone that lives in a city. If you go to China or Japan, there's thousands of people everywhere and everyone's really, really close like this and no one takes any notice. If you're out in the countryside and someone comes within a mile of you, you usually think, what are they doing? At the end of the day, go out, relax, take photographs. If you're using a rangefinder camera, you can just, as I say, just take photographs of people with your camera to your eye. There's loads of tricks and tips which I'll show you today. You can just hold the camera to your waist, walk along, thumb on the shutter, just walk along, walking like that. And if your focal plane there is flat, when you move it down to there, it's exactly the same focal plane. You're going to get exactly the same subject matter in it. Keep it flat on your chest and press the shutter button with your thumb, because everyone assumes this is the finger that takes photograph. That's a natural position for a photographer. As soon as you're holding the camera there and you've got your thumb on the shutter button, no one really takes any notice of what you're doing. One of the strangest things about video over stills, or even just holding the camera, is you can walk around and people naturally just don't look at you. I'm videoing these people, the camera's almost in their faces in some of the aspects of what I do, and no one actually takes any notice of you when you're holding a camera up. Oh, this is a phone, I must admit it's a phone, but at the end of the day, you don't really take any notice of someone holding an iPhone. And just these two guys coming towards me now, I'm actually videoing them. No one takes any notice of me. They actually think I'm actually on the phone talking to someone else, and it's exactly the same with a camera. No one's interested. Well, that's it. That's what Barry looks like, if you can't remember. We're having a wander around, seeing what we can see. We're in a shady bit at the moment. We're going to walk up to Matthew Street, and I'm just going to look at the light and the shade there and the contrast, and try and show you some bits there. I don't think there'll be any of the people that I'm normally interested in to shoot, so I'll see if I can find some of my old work to chuck in here. One of the most important things is when you're in town is have a walk around, whether you've got your camera around your neck or not, have a walk around and learn to feel comfortable in the city and surroundings you're in. Even do this, walk around, video yourself, see how many people look at you. Most people won't. Most people will actually think you're just talking to yourself or you're talking to someone on video. No one's actually interested in you at all. You can see what's going on in the background behind me, I can't. And so you will notice whether people look at me when I'm talking. Most people aren't interested in somebody else. Most people of a certain age as well are really not interested in anybody else. Every different generation or every different ethnicity will behave to a camera in a different way. In countries where they're used to cameras and photography, no one's interested in you. In Great Britain, whatever you want to call it, the people are so used to photography, it doesn't really matter in most places, especially big cities, but in little tiny places they do get concerned about cameras. I don't know why. I think they think that someone's going to steal something off them in a photograph. I don't know what. I'm going to walk across the road here and you can actually watch me get run over live. So yeah, walk around, get used to it, do things like this, video yourself, talk to yourself, see what's going on, see what you think of the area you're in, see if you feel comfortable in the area you're in. Keep walking around, have a coffee, learn to feel comfortable and learn to feel comfortable in your own skin. Sometimes people are just nervous of anything, and if they're nervous of anything, they're obviously going to be nervous in a town. As I say, if you live in the middle of the countryside and suddenly you come into Liverpool for the day, it's a bit of a explosion of things on your senses, because there's a lot going on here, a lot of people about, lots of different subject matter and everything else. Choosing to shoot one thing, sometimes it's better to have a theme, so it might be red, yellow or blue, or umbrellas on a rainy day or something. Have a bit of a theme in your head so that when you go out, or be shooting a project so that when you get here you've got something to focus on. Otherwise there's just too much. Just watching a guy here actually jet washing one of the bronze statues in Liverpool, which is quite interesting. Someone it might make a really, really good photograph. I don't really know. I don't think it's working for me, but it does look different, that's for sure. Especially as it looks like he's standing on one leg. I'll turn around so you can see what I'm talking around. There you go. Jet washing a bronze figure. So yeah, walk around, see how you feel. As I walk along here in Matthew Street, you'll see these different dynamic range of the light and the shade here. And funny enough, there's a guy here walking into here, and then you can start piecing together shots. So as you can see, I don't look for a type of person. That guy just happened to walk in the frame then, he would have made a good subject. So this little piece of light and shade here, as you can see, most street photographers shoot. You can pick up on this, look, and now you've got a girl walking into frame here with this yellow barrier, and there'll be someone else no doubt put another mini yellow barrier, and you're a guy walking across the frame there. This is how you start to build a shot. I'm just standing here with my camera, waiting and watching. And I can stand here as long as I want. I can stand here all day long. I've picked a spot now, there's a pigeon flown over there. So I've picked a spot now where I've got light and shade, classic type of street photography. There's a lady walking into my frame from the left with a red coat. There's red and yellow for my day. Another guy walks into frame looking the other way. You can stand here all day, totally relaxed, and photograph what the hell you like. No one's interested in you. 9 times out of 10, if someone does walk into this shot and looks at you, then they're going to actually apologise for walking into your frame, because I'm standing here first. So if anyone walks into the frame like this, people now coming from my right there, they're walking into the frame. It's up to them how they behave and look. And so you start to build a picture now of what I look for. Sometimes you have to wait, and sometimes you have to wait all day. And sometimes if you find a busy-ish area, you'll have people walking in and out of your frame all day long. And that's what I look for. I look for somewhere with a background that looks interesting. I wouldn't actually shoot this because of the yellow sign behind with guest DJs and everything. I don't think it's that interesting, especially when I used to shoot stock. Having a name in the background wouldn't work for me. As you can see, this guy's walking into frame now. He actually looked at me, and he's not really interested at all in me or anything I do. We'll walk around here, and as you can see, I'm now in the shade again. My camera's actually going to adjust for that, but people are not interested in you at all whatsoever. There's a guy here, I've shot outside this People's Museum quite a few times. It makes quite an interesting background, and as you can see here, you just build a shot. Walking around looking, you can build a shot. If you want to photograph these people, you can. It doesn't work for me. It would be if it was both in red. It would sort of work for me. That's why finding areas and spaces, and as you can see in a minute, we're going to go back into shade from light. So it's about making light and shade work for you. When you get to famous streets like Matthew Street here in Liverpool, where you've got Scylla up here on the left, you've got a guy painting here, look. He's slightly in too much in the shade for me. If he's actually in the light, that would work better for me. I've never done this before. I've never actually walked around and videoed what I would normally photograph. And it's a lot easier to show you what I would video than it is than actually trying to show you what I photograph and getting it all wrong. I've got some photographs I've taken in Matthew Street here before, and I will feed them into this so you can have a look at the end. Thank you. As you can see, people actually stop because you're filming. They don't want to get in your way. So it's harder to get someone into a shot than it is to actually photograph someone in the shot already. So if I hold my camera here today, so you can imagine if I'm using my X100 and I focus on here. Now this isn't the sort of thing I want to shoot, but you've got some yellows, you've got some blues, and you've got some red chairs, and you've got the light falling in a completely different way. And once you've processed this, it will look completely different. But as you can see, people are walking from the left and walking from the right. And if you look at classic street photography and see the way people and shapes are positioned into a frame, you can start building your shots. One of the easiest ways to teach street photography is stand somewhere, focus on something, and allow general public to walk into the shot. That's the easiest way to photograph street. Obviously, one of the most boring things is people walking from left to right, but once you get the confidence to actually stand around and take photographs, then it doesn't matter so much. Important things to do after you've come into a town isn't to fiddle with your camera on the table. One of the most important things to do is go and have a coffee. That's Barry. So come and have a coffee, sit, relax, have a look around you, just sit, chill out, have a coffee, have a pastry, and chat about photography with someone if you're with someone, or if you're on your own, then talk to yourself about photography. That's probably one of the best ways to approach the subject. So we have to excuse the traffic noise in the background, but this is, people come here and stand up this statue in Liverpool for one reason and one reason only, and that's the reason. So it's just a little bit of Liverpool trivia for you. So one of the good things about going for a coffee is we've just realised that there's a police siren now, but when we was actually outside Lime Street Station, you could hardly hear a thing I was saying, and I do not have sound software to clean that up. So we're going to do some of it, repeat ourselves a little bit, but it'll probably help you, because if you've just watched that and you've got to this bit and you thought, oh, I didn't really hear it, then this will recover it all for you. So rangefinder style camera, the one of the number one is hold it to your eye and just get on and take photographs. No one is really interested in you. The closer you get, if you go into their personal space, yes, they are interested. So don't go in their personal space. And at the end of the day, if you want to shoot someone up close in their personal space, I'll show you a technique which you can use. Once you realise and work out how to use a camera, your hit rate will be 100%. Once you're learning, your hit rate will be 20% or 30%. But once you've been out and you use a camera on the street every single day of the week, it will be 100%. And one of the simple things that you learn, even magicians do, is misdirection. And at the end of the day, if I wanted to photograph Barry, for instance, and I'm walking towards him, and obviously I'm not going to make eye contact with him, but at the end of the day, one of the things you can do if you always want to get in his face and take a photograph is no eye contact, and start walking down the road and you think, I'm having a problem with my strap. And then you start looking at your own hand, and then you're taking the photograph there. So I've now photographed Barry up close, and he hasn't realised what I'm doing because he's too busy looking at what I'm doing over here. I'll do that from a little bit further away. And so if you're coming along, you think, oh, that's a bit annoying, I can't get this off, click. So you can get as close as you want with misdirection. I'm not telling you to go and do that, because at the end of the day, I've seen people try and use techniques and really screw them up, because when you screw up a technique, it goes like this. You're not making eye contact, you're lying like that, there's your misdirection, and then you look straight at someone. And now you look stupid, right? At the end of the day, don't go down that route. One of the easiest ways to photograph people is with your camera around your neck, thumb on the shutter button. If you're a bit concerned about taking photographs of people, first of all, have a look at that view for yourself, work out what that view is, work out what size lens you've got on, work out what's going to be in the frame, hold your camera there, take the photograph. Your hit rate's going to be 10-15%. Once you've done that for 2-3 years, your hit rate's going to be 100%. Simple as that, really. And then you can decide how you're going to shoot that, whether you use autofocus or whatever you want to use. I use autofocus on something like that. It'll just nail Barry straight in the middle, that's it. Rangefinder camera, that's the sort of tips and techniques you can use. With anything else, especially with a camera with a tilting screen, one of the most interesting things is you can do exactly the same thing. Camera around your neck, I get all tangled up there. Camera around your neck, screen out around the back. You just stand there and look. And we're going to go back in Matthew Street in a minute, and I'm going to actually show you with this camera how I'd use that technique back in Matthew Street, looking for people to come in and out of the frame. But at the end of the day, ground glass viewfinder is what used to be in a rangefinder camera. And Vivian Mayer and everyone else used to walk around using a ground glass viewfinder in the back of a rangefinder. This is a digital screen on the back of a camera. There's lots of different techniques. One of them is just to hold it there and look like that, wait for people to walk into the frame. The other one is put it on your arm, get it comfortable, and walk around like that. And obviously, if you're confident and comfortable enough, you can just get the camera up to your eye. But as you can see with this style of camera, as I'm looking at you through the viewfinder, you're looking straight at the subject. Totally different with a rangefinder that's almost off to the side. So there's a load of different camera stuff you can use to fool people or make you feel more comfortable. But feeling comfortable around shooting people is easy. If I was to stand in the middle of a street, even with this style of camera, pointing it in that direction, as you see people do every day of the week, everyone stands there thinking, oh, I'm going to take a photograph of this lovely scene. Now people walk into your scene, they're in your photograph, now they're your subject. So that's all you have to do. Or if there's people walking behind me, you stand photographing this way in the street, you turn around and you photograph them. They're walking in, they could almost be face to front. You can hear them walking behind you. So say someone's walking, I'm going to do it the other way around just to show you what I mean. So I'm standing there, photographing, but you're my subject. So photographing, turn around, click. And it's as simple as that. Loads of different stuff. And don't make eye contact with people afterwards, and don't make eye contact with people at all. The whole idea is you're out photographing, you're shooting. If you watch Joel Merriwich shoot, he stands in the street, he's photographing. He's behind the camera. They can't see his face when he's photographing them. He's definitely not going to take his camera away from his face like that and look at someone. It's not going to happen. And if someone is watching you and looking at you photograph them, smile at them, be happy, and no one really cares. There is a problem with someone at my age with a grey beard, with young people, and I don't tell anyone, anyone's a subject out in the street. It all depends what they are. But if you are an older guy with a grey beard walking around photographing young girls, you're going to get a load of attention, and it's not going to be good, trust me. When I used to teach photography workshops, there were 3 subjects I said do not shoot. It's children, homeless, and musicians. And the reason being is because it just made my workshops easier. It doesn't mean to say you can't shoot their subjects. It's just a subject that's really, really difficult. Unless you engage with the parents before you shoot the children, it's going to be a big problem for you. If you don't pay a musician and you just walk up and photograph them, they don't like it, and why should they like it? They're playing music, and if you want to photograph them, stick some money in their pot. And the other one's homeless. It's an easy, cheap shot that you can take. Unless you've got a great body of work of the homeless people that are telling the homeless story, then there's no actual point in photographing homeless people. It doesn't tell a story. It's just an easy shot and an easy subject. It's a story that needs to be told, but it needs to be told in a completely different way. So there's some of the tricks and techniques. We're going to now go back down Matthew Street, and I'm going to try and show you how I put that together with this camera. Top tip for you: do not delete images on your camera, especially on a memory card. You create empty pockets of data on the memory card, and then you can corrupt the card. So when you're out shooting, shoot all day long, but do not delete until you get home. Then look at all the images, take all the images off that you want, and then delete, and then rewipe and format your memory card, and then that'll be a good thing. There's lots and lots of people I know who have gone out, deleted images as they go, get home and corrupt their memory cards. And as a rule of thumb, I use big cards, but at the end of the day, I'll keep a card for about 2 years. Memory's cheap these days. I'll keep a card for about 2 years, then I snap it up, throw it in the bin and buy a new one. And I always use SanDisk cards because they're really good, and you can also get the data back if you have corrupted it. But use whatever cards you like. Everyone has their favourite cards. I've had some really expensive cards given to me by manufacturers, and they all go wrong if you delete images off and create empty pockets of data. Apart from that, they're all right. So that's my top tip on memory cards. One of the interesting things about Matthew Street is at different times of day. We've just been away and come back, and there's about like 45 minutes later, we've got this lovely piece of light here. And I'm going to photograph this in a second with my camera. But as you can see, people walking past. You immediately want people to walk into the light, and they're not doing that at the moment because they're walking close to me. The way that you can create people walking into that light is step forward. And then you're almost getting to the point where people have to walk round you, and then they walk into the light. So it just goes to show, in the space of half an hour, this patch of light has appeared in Matthew Street. It wasn't there before when we walked through, and I noticed by being in this town and this street over the period of time that just over here as well by this other shop, there's another piece of light that will move according to the time of day to over the picture on the door, and there'll be another beam of light here a bit later on which comes to a sharp point, and it's all just a copy in the rooftops of the buildings behind us. So one of the important things to do when you're walking around a street, a city or a town, is to take note of this sort of stuff. Obviously you're not going to have great light like this all the time, but on a day to day with lots of sun and high contrast and everything else, you get this stuff. You can edit it all nicely later, but it's to work out where it is and come and find it, and then stake it out, or as I used to say, stake out light, like David Notton done in landscape. You do it in the town, go and find some light, stake it out, and get some. It may not be your thing. Great light like this may not be your thing in street photography at all whatsoever, but it can be. So if it is, come and find it. And as you can see, I'm standing here with Barry talking about it. People are walking backwards and forwards, so no one's taking any notice of what we're doing, and we're having a nice day. And that's one of the ways to get used to just standing around in a city and being relaxed. Sometimes you have to stand here all day, like. Okay, that's all right. You carry on. That's exactly what can happen. People think they're going to be in your way, so it's not a bad thing. This is Barry looking happy after a day out with me. Lots of interesting buildings in Liverpool. This is St George's Hall. You don't get many people here. Lots of litter about as well. So there's your red and yellow for the day and a blue Coke can underneath the bench. But people come up here more to get out of the traffic and make videos than they do walk through here. So this is, even though it's a nice place, it's not a very, very successful place to shoot people or street photography. Oh, mind you, there's people being shot down there. This is quite funny as I say it, but that doesn't interest me. Nothing interests me. The lady in the coat in the background probably interests me more, but probably come more on the subject matter later on. Talk about subject matter in depth. It's very difficult subject matter for me to talk about because I don't look for a certain thing. Could be man, woman, child, whatever you want. It's just finding a subject that works with a background is more interesting than anything else, and it's one of the most difficult things to work out in street photography. Unless you study street photography and you learn what you want and what works for you, most of the time I shoot something I have an emotional response to. So that's a hard one to explain and record on video, that's for sure. But the subject matter is difficult. It is hard. I cannot overly teach you that because I believe subject matter is personal to you. I believe you need to find something that makes you smile, makes you happy, makes you interested, makes you want to go out and shoot street photography. And at the end of the day, if you're in a city or town like this and you've got these amazing buildings, and today we've got some amazing light, then you're bound to find a subject that interests you amongst all this lot. Just go out there and look for it, and don't be afraid to look for it. About 20 minutes to go before we catch the train. Hopefully I've covered quite a few things. With the brain damage, I can't remember everything I need to cover for you, but come down the town, go down to any town, city, no matter where you live, have a wander around, have a look for great light, have a look for great interesting backgrounds. There's an amazing building here that I'm sitting in here with this old bench. Just have a look around, see what you can find, see what interests you. Have a theme in your head, red, yellow, blue. Have something in your head and go out and photograph the area. And if people walk into your frame, you start to do street photography by accident. I didn't expect to get anything today, and I haven't really got anything, but I did get a few shots in Matthew Street when I was shooting the light and shade where Barry was filming me. And I'll show you those, or I've probably already showed you them, and I'll put some of the other images that I've actually shot in Matthew Street at the end of this video. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you've got something out of it. We're going to catch the train home. I hope that if you haven't got anything out of it, you can let me know below, and I'll go out. Now I've learned to do this with Barry. I'll try and get the sound better next time. We'll try and stand in places with less buses and traffic like we are now. I'll try and get myself another microphone if I can be bothered. Hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully, if you haven't, as I say, look below and put your comments below, and we'll go out in the future and we'll try and shoot something that you're interested in and get it online for you to have a look at. So let me know what you think, let me know how bad the sound was, let me know what you think of the tricks and techniques, and we'll go from there. Take it easy, see you on the next video.
Couldn't bring the ball.